How do you finance your first rent-to-rent deal? Rent-to-rent being the idea that you're renting a property from a landlord, then you're going to repurpose that property, re-rent it out to the marketplace, generate more income, and take a profit before you're paying the landlord each month. So you're doing more than the current landlord was in order to make money. That may be you're taking it and turning it into a HMO, for example, or it may be you're taking that house and turning it into service accommodation, or it may be you're taking existing tired HMO, which is say a student let, and repurposing to a much more affluent market, professional working tenants, which is how I started my rent to rents. I would take tired student HMOs and turn them into more nicer, fancy working professional HMOs. And the rent was higher there compared to the student let, so I could rent the property from the landlord and be able to re-rent it out in this way and make a profit. So then I had some expenditure I needed to, for example, I needed to freshen up the property a little bit of decorating. I needed to do some of the furniture or appliances, maybe kind of past their sell-by date, needed replacing as well. But not a huge amount of money needed to be spent because the basics were there. Whereas if you're taking, for example, a family house and you're converting that, say, to a 6-bedroom HMO, you've got all the compliance, the fire alarms, the fire doors, emergency lighting you need to deal with. You've got to fully furnish the property. You might have to create a second shower room somewhere, so you've got 2 bathrooms for the 6 people. So when you look at it like that, there's quite a lot of money that you need to spend. That could be £15,000, £20,000. Now, I've done some rent-to-rents like that, but I would only do them on the basis I've got a very long lease, like 10 years for that lease. So that means that over that period of time, I'll make my money back. Now, when we're thinking about how much money is required to get started and how much you'll be spending, you've got to think about also the return of that money. So for example, let's say I'm starting out, I'm renting a property, I might have to pay advance rent, I might have to pay a deposit as well. Then I've got some money I need to spend on the property as well. When we add up all that, really we want to be able to get that money back in rental profit in say a year, maybe a year and a half at tops. That's how I tend to view these. Some of the early ones I did, I spent a lot more money up front, but because my profit margin was quite high, I'd negotiated a lower rent because the properties needed quite a bit of work and a long lease. So my profit on them was typically £1,200 to £1,500 a month. So even though I'd spent like £20,000, I was making so much money every month on those that actually it made great sense to have that property for 10 years. Now, if you're starting out not with very much money and you're thinking, how can I finance it? How can I get started? Some people will do this with just an overdraft or a small loan, for example, because we're not talking about tens and tens of £1,000s. We're generally talking about a couple of £1,000s or so, or maybe £5,000 to get started. Alternatively, if I was going to start out now and I was looking for rent to rents and I had very little money to start with, what I would focus on is, for example, rent to service accommodation, but finding high quality furnished accommodation. And so what I'm doing is finding something that already is a fantastic property, but my skill will now be marketing that in the best possible rent I can. So although I might already be paying a premium for that property because it's in very good condition and it's furnished, but what it does mean is my upfront cost isn't very much. So my upfront starting money is much lower, although my operational cost will be higher because my rent will be higher. It will mean I'll get started and still be able to make a profit without putting much money in. Hey, if you're enjoying these short videos that we're doing called Saj Dailies, then make sure you also check out our longer form content that we have on the channel. There's probably about 300 videos that are on the channel that we've uploaded over the last few years, and there's a lot more content uploaded regularly. And if you're enjoying it, then make sure you click on that like button. Also subscribe to the channel, but more importantly, leave me a comment. Let me know what it is about these videos you're particularly enjoying and particularly liking. And once you've done that, make sure you click on this video and I'll see you over here next.